Hi everyone, it's Monique and I am here today to do a tutorial for you all on how to make the Hag Shawl. Very exciting. She has designed this shawl and this stitch combination. It is a beautiful shawl with wonderful texture and it is beginner friendly. You need to know how to do two things, a chain and a half double crochet. That's it. The magic really is where you place the half double crochets. So what do you need? You need yarn, you need stitch markers, a crochet hook, and scissors. And at the end, you will need to have a yarn needle to weave in your ends. There is no particular yarn that you need to use. Ryan designed this understanding that people will be able to use any weight yarn they want, any color, anything. How much you will need depends entirely upon how big you want your shawl to be. And I will say that you could certainly use a solid yarn, but what I am going to be using is this Unforgettable because it's self-striping. And I think that a self-striping yarn with the texture of this particular stitch is really kind of a little bit of a visual feast. This is what I'm using for my actual shawl. It's Red Heart Unforgettable. It is a medium 4 weight with a 5mm hook, and it is in the colorway Woodlands. Now, I'm not sure if this colorway is actually still available or not. I want to say that it might not be. And if not, I'm sorry if you love it, but Red Heart Unforgettable has bunches of beautiful options for you. It wasn't showing up real well on screen. A lot of the colors are a little dark. For the tutorial purposes, we are going to revert to good old Red Heart Super Saver. Okay, so to start, what do? We need a slip knot, and for those who do not know how to make a slip knot, in case you're a beginner, you make a loop, stick your fingers through that loop, grab the working yarn, which is the yarn attached to the skein, pull through that hole or through the loop up. There you go. Let's do that again real quick. Loop, fingers through, grab the yarn that is attached to the skein, pull up, hook, pull. There you go. Ready to go. So what are we going to do first? We are going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do 3 half double crochet in the first chain, or the chain furthest from the hook. And you can feel free to put it right in the top. I flip mine and work into the back lump there so that my edge is smoother and cleaner. The edge of my finished product anyway. So you put your stitch or put your hook through that loop or stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Do that again. Yarn over into that stitch, pull up a loop. We've got 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. One more time. I'm going to show you how to do a half double crochet once more. And then after this, I'm just going to do them, okay? If you are unsure of half double crochets, go ahead and pause and rewind this section so that you know how everything is as we move forward. So yarn over, hook through that stitch, pull up a loop, 3 on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. We have 3 stitches. Hopefully you guys can see. Move this. I think it's sometimes makes it harder for my phone. So we have 3 stitches, and that's the end of our first row. By the way, guys, once we get to row 3 is the repeat row for the rest of the shawl. It's a 1-row repeat. So how great is that? So we have our 3 stitches. We're at the end of our row. We're going to chain 2 and turn our work. You may be asking, is that chain 2 a stitch, Monique? And Monique is going to say, no, it is not. It is literally just our turning chain. It's to get us to the height we need to be at, and then it is to be ignored. You are never going to work into the chain 2 ever. It is not a stitch. Ryan asked me to be very, very sure to let you guys know that. She got quite a few questions from testers in regards to whether she should be working their last stitch of the row into the last half double crochet or the chain 2. The answer to that is you are always going to be working into the half double crochet, never the chain 2, never. Okay? So now that we've cleared that up, I also want to take a minute and I want to be real clear with folks about where that first stitch is actually in this pattern, because I have seen some folks identify the first stitch one way and some identify it another way in different patterns. So let's just be sure that we know exactly. So this is our stitch. This is our chain 1, chain 2 working loops. This is the stitch. If you flip your work to the side, you're going to see chain, chain, here's our stitch. That is going to be the first stitch in every single row, will be at the base of that chain 2, and that is the stitch you are going to work your first 2 half double crochet into. So 1, 2. And I am going to stop and put a stitch marker on my first half double crochet. The next thing we're going to do is another half double crochet, but this time we're going to half double crochet into the back loop only. So let's take a moment and identify back loop only in case there's anybody that doesn't know what that is. If you know, just bear with us. So this is our next stitch. Let's be sure we can see. Here's our next stitch. Let me move this, I think sometimes. The V. So normally we grab both loops. In this case, we are going to grab just the back loop. Here's the front loop right here. You can separate that out. So we're going to work in just this back loop. So let's go ahead and do that next stitch so you see what I'm saying. So because it's a half double crochet, yarn over, put your hook right through that back loop only, pull up, pull through all 3. Now we are at the third stitch, which is our last stitch of the row, and we're going to end our row with a standard half double crochet in the last stitch. So you're going to do a regular old half double crochet right through both loops of that stitch, and we are at the end of row 2. So we're going to start row 3, and now remember, what we do on row 3 is what we're going to do for every row for the rest of the shawl. All right, so we're going to chain 2, turn our work, 2 half double crochet in that first stitch at the base of the chain 2. Look at that super saver getting big for its britches. Oh, it wants to fight me, guys, because you're here. I could work with this all day long and it would be fine. The minute you turn on a camera, Red Heart gets all diva on me. I'm going to go ahead and mark that first stitch, that first half double crochet. So now we're going to do a half double crochet in that back loop only. That is always the next thing you're going to do after the 2 half double crochet in the first stitch. And now the next thing that we do is the only other kind of tricky placement that you got to be aware of. So let's look at our next stitch. This is our next stitch. Okay, just like that one, we've got the V. This is our back loop. We already identified back loop only. Here's our front loop for front loop only. So if we need the front third loop, that's what we're looking for. How do we find the front third loop? Well, the back loop is 1, front loop is 2. Turn your work so that you're looking at the front of your work. You see this little loop right here? This is our front loop. Again, front loop. Right underneath it is our third front loop. That is the loop you're going to be working into. So you're going to yarn over, find that front third loop, and do your half double crochet into it just like we did the back. Now we're at the end of our row, so we're going to do a standard half double crochet in that last stitch. I'm going to remove the stitch marker so that I get in there easier. All right. And that is the end of row 3. So row 3 is going to be is going to be the repeat row. So basically every row is going to go like this. Chain 2, turn your work, 2 half double crochet into the first stitch. That is your increase. Every row is going to increase by 1 stitch. The next stitch is going to be a half double crochet in the back loop only. And the next stitch is going to be a half double crochet in the third front loop. And then you're going to repeat back loop only, front third loop, back loop only, front third loop until you get to the last stitch of the row, which will always be a standard half double crochet in the last stitch. So let's do just a couple more rows so that you guys can see that it really is just exactly that. So we chain 2, turn our work, half double crochet into the first stitch, another half double crochet into the first stitch, mark your first half double crochet. I mean, if you've been crocheting for 700 years and you don't need to use stitch markers, you don't have to, but that's not me, so I do. Now, like I said, we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only. And then half double crochet in that front third loop. And then it's going to be back loop only again. And now we're at our last stitch of the row, so we are just going to do a standard old half double crochet right in that last stitch. Guys, I'm going to pull out of frame just so that I can look and see, okay? Okay, sorry about that. Pull through, and there's the end of that row. So let's do another row together, and then you guys can go off on your own and start making some gorgeous stuff. So we're going to chain 2, turn our work, half double crochet twice in that first stitch, now we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only, and then we're going to half double crochet in the front third loop. And now I want to stop and take a moment to point something out to you guys, because this was something that I noticed, and it might be something that you run into too. And so I don't want you to think that you're alone in that. As soon as you start to do a front third loop, half double crochet, your fabric, which up until now has been going up and down, okay? And this was the top of your stitches. As soon as you put one in the front, it twists your work towards the back. So it actually pushes your whole fabric this way. So when you go to do the next half double crochet in the back loop only, you think, okay, here's my back loop. Nope, not your back loop. That is your front loop. This is your third front loop. Here's your front loop. You have to turn your fabric towards yourself to find that back loop only again. So just be aware of that. And here's that front third. And now we're at the end of that row. Now, obviously, as your rows get longer, they'll take longer to do, but it's a very simple stitch. And so I think that you will find that it is, oops, sorry, I'm off camera because I was finding that last stitch again. I think that you will find that it is really a simple enough pattern and stitch that you can sit on the couch and watch TV and just whip it out. Okay, so let's recap about where it is all of these different stitches are going to be. I've just finished my row. So let's assume I've done my chain 2 and I've turned my work. Our first stitch is going to be right here, always at the base of that chain. So we're going to put 2 half double crochet in that stitch every single time. The next stitch is going to be our half double crochet in the back loop only, and that is right there. Here's our stitch, back loop only. Next one is going to be in the front third loop. So back loop is the first loop, front loop is the second loop. Turn your work so that it's laying almost flat. Right underneath that front loop is the front third loop. And that's where you're going to do your half double crochet. And then once you've done that, don't forget, this is not your back loop. Your back loop is back here. You have to do that, twist that fabric a little bit so that you can find it. Once you get that, guys, it doesn't really trip you up. You just automatically start with your hands doing basically this back and forth, so that you can get the front and the back and the front and the back. And that's it. It's that simple. Let me now show you my actual Hag Shawl. And keep in mind, it's not very far along, unfortunately. I've been really busy, but I do want to show you kind of what it looks like, because I think you'll get a pretty good idea of what I mean by the texture. This is my Hag Shawl as it stands right now. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. The texture on it is fantastic. And Red Heart Unforgettable yarn really gives you great stitch definition. I'm hoping that you can catch all that. And here is where I want to kind of point out to you what I was talking about with if you have yarn that's striping in color, whether it's this type or whether it's just the occasional stripe. I mean, these stripes are going to get much thinner as my rows get longer, and eventually I may end up with multiple colors per row depending upon how big I make this shawl. But you have these great strips of horizontal color, and then you have this diagonal strip of texture that runs this way. And I'm hoping that you can see that as I point it out to you. And there is texture like that on both sides. This side is going this way. You can see. So no matter which way your yarn has stripes, whether and how you wear it, whether you're wearing it so that the stripes are this way or so that the stripes are this way, you're always going to have a kind of a diagonal textural thing going on, which creates beautiful, beautiful visual, I think anyways. And of course, keep in mind, guys, this is still wonky. It hasn't been blocked. It's been shoved in a bag as I work on it. So I think it's beautiful. And thank you, Ryan, for coming up with such an easy stitch that creates something so great. And please know that I am happy to try to answer any of your questions. You can shoot me an email. You can comment in the comments below and ask questions. But ultimately, Ryan is the is the expert on her pattern, and so I'm sure that she would be happy to answer any questions you have if you contact her as well. Her channel will be linked in my description box, so that if you are unfamiliar with her and you want to go check her out, you can. If you make a Hag Shawl, I know that she would love it if you would share it with her, whether you email her a picture or if you tag her on social media. I know, I'm pretty sure she has her social media linked at her channel. Alternatively, if you can't find her, you can use hashtag Hag Shawl. I am happy to have been able to provide this tutorial for you guys. I hope that you try it, and I hope that if you try it, you love it as much as everybody that's done this so far seems to love it.